Hello and welcome to Catalan News. It's less than 10 days to go for the elections. Parties continue with their campaigns speculating on future scenarios. Will Spain sit down at the negotiating table if a pro-independence government emerges from the ballots? Will Puigdemont be arrested if he wins and comes back to Catalonia in order to take office as president? Candidates are trying to find an answer to these questions, not always easily. Here at Catalan News, we'll get you the latest of day 8 of the campaign, and we'll go to Lleida the day after the controversial removal of the Sixena works of art. The December 21st election run-up is entering week 2, and the independence debate continues to dominate the campaign. Candidacies are having a look back at past events and also speculating on the future. For instance, the People's Party leader accused the pro-independence parties of having lied to the people, while the far-left party says there is no alternative than a unilateral independence.
Is independence still possible? This is what parties ask themselves at their political gatherings on day 8 of the campaign. The coup party representative said there's no use planning a strategy for achieving independence on the back of dialogue with Spain. According to its leader, Spain's willingness to sit down at the negotiating table is non-existent.
És només des de la unilateralitat inicial que segurament a través del conflicte i de la tensió es pot arribar a un escenari de diàleg. L'escenari de diàleg i de bilateralitat només serà possible si primer es recorre un trajecte d'unilateralitat.
Together for Catalonia insists on the need to find a way out through dialogue. Esquerra Republicana, meanwhile, also defends talks with Prime Minister Rajoy as a first step towards independence, although it doesn't rule out acting unilaterally. Rajoy's party leader in Catalonia also had his say on the issue. He accused all the independence parties of lying to the public when presenting independence as possible. The socialist leader in the Tarragona constituency predicted that direct rule of Catalonia would again be enforced should parties seek to achieve independence unilaterally. This is the same position that Rajoy's People's Party takes. Catalonia in common, in between pro-independence and unionism, focused on the left-right axis rather than a national approach. Its leader announced that the historic French left-wing leader Jean-Luc Mélenchon supports them.
Que Mélenchon vindrà a participar de la nostra campanya perquè Mélenchon representa la França insumisa com nosaltres volem representar la Catalunya insumisa, mentre que altres porten a personatges com Manuel Valls per donar-li suports que representen en tot cas les polítiques reaccionàries que ens han portat fins aquí.
The former French Prime Minister, Manuel Valls, will take part in a unionist Ciutadans event in the coming days. Yet the Catalan socialists also want to claim his support, as their leader, Miquel Iceta, met Valls yesterday.
The Catalan president, Carles Puigdemont, is campaigning from Brussels as Together for Catalonia's leader. In fact, today he held a press conference from Belgium with journalists in Barcelona in an unprecedented event hosted by the Catalan news agency that saw dozens of journalists asking him questions live at 1,300 kilometers of distance. Puigdemont said that in the event he wins the election, he will come back to Catalonia to take office, even if that means that he is arrested after setting foot in the country. He also referred to the attitude of the European Union and Spain if the parties for a Catalan state win the vote.
That is the question. Will accept the Spanish state and the European Union the will of the Catalan people, yes or not? And if the things will remain the same as before, the question is why, Mr. Rajoy, did you make these kind of decisions, this trouble, this shame? Why? So this is a question for we expect an answer from the Spanish state and the European institutions in order to respect the decision of the Catalan people.
While Puigdemont is in Brussels, 4 pro-independence leaders are still in prison, such as Oriol Junqueras, the vice president of the deposed Catalan government. The Supreme Court hasn't made any move to free them. On the contrary, the judge has announced an extension of the investigation over the events surrounding the referendum and the Declaration of Independence. Esquerra's number 2, Marta Rovira, will also be investigated as part of a strategic committee. Some leaders of Puigdemont's party, PDeCAT, might also be investigated, such as the former Catalan president, Artur Mas. Indeed, Mas and some other former officials organised the unofficial 2014 independence vote. They were barred from office. The Court of Auditors obliged them to pay $5 million as bail, and after failing to pay the whole amount, they have had properties provisionally seized today. Today we start a series of pieces to introduce each of the 7 parties expected to get seats in the new parliament. We'll visit one party gathering every day to get a taste of the campaign from the inside. We start with Esquerra Republicana, which has held an event in Badalona, a town just a few kilometers away from Barcelona. It is the 3rd most populated town of the country, with more than 150,000 votes at stake.
Just 1 month ago, it was quite clear that Esquerra Republicana would win the upcoming election. But now, although still in the lead, parties Ciutadans and Junts per Catalunya are catching up. The decline coincides with a key event from November 2nd, the imprisonment of the party leader, Oriol Junqueras. Yet, the left-wing Proindependence party is running with Junqueras as its main candidate. Its motto, democracy always wins. In the 2015 election, it was part of the Junts pel Sí coalition, which got 62 out of 135 seats in the parliament. But now, with Junqueras in prison, all eyes are set to his number 2, Marta Rovira, who's carrying much of the candidacy weight.
Fent la revolta somrient, escurcem la distància en aquells que encara no saben que el que necessiten és una revolta per construir país.
The ticket also includes Catalan Parliament President Carme Forcadell, as well as independent members like the deposed Foreign Minister Raül Romeva. The party's history goes back to 1931, and this is something that its voters appreciate.
From a lot of years, Esquerra Republicana was the independent party in Catalonia. It was the first party with support the independence of Catalonia.
We want to create a country for the people, and we are here to defend this and to defend our prisoners, our politicians that are prisoners in Spain.
Esquerra has traditionally been strong in Catalonia's inland, yet Barcelona's metro area remains a challenge. Towns on the outskirts of Barcelona, just like Badalona, have historically been fairly unionist. Indeed, in the past, the town did have as its mayor the current candidate for the People's Party in Catalonia. But things have, in fact, begun evolving. So, in fact, currently, the mayor for Badalona is of the far-left pro-independence coup party. And as we can see, towns just like Badalona are going to be key places in defining the outcome of the election on December 21st. Esquerra isn't giving up on independence plans, despite Spain's recent measures, asking Madrid for dialogue after the elections. Yet, the party does not rule out resuming the road towards a Catalan state, even without Madrid's cooperation.
Moving on to the economy now. Social inequality continues to be a problem in Catalonia. A report released today highlighted the problems faced by many employees who, although they are in work, still struggle to make ends meet. The report called for more social and employment policies in order to combat job insecurity.
More than 500,000 workers in Catalonia do not earn enough money to lead a decent life, according to a report released today by the social platform Taula del Tercer Sector. The economic recovery in the country is not being translated into the creation of clean and quality employment. Maintaining that work is a promoter of social inclusion and mental health. The report stated that it is necessary for variables such as stability and economic compensation to be consistent and secure. People without job security are 2 to 7 times more likely to develop depression, it said. Taula del Tercer Sector is made up of a group of organizations that help out people who are unable to pay their energy bills. In November, they call on the energy companies to help subsidize bills in order to avoid energy poverty.
Doncs aquestes quantitats que gasten les entitats les haurien d'absorbir les pròpies empreses, perquè per ells no serà res.
In Catalonia, around 230,000 people are in part-time employment, earning an average monthly gross salary of €710. 250,000 people in full-time employment earn between €710 and €1,000 each month, while the average gross monthly salary for Catalonia as a whole is nearly €2,000. In order to be able to live with dignity, around €1,100 is needed each month, according to the European Social Charter. This current situation, the report says, promotes vulnerability as well as social marginalization and distrust in the political system.
Also in business news, the number of new companies set up in Catalonia throughout October was up by 20.5% compared to September. Over 1,000 new companies were created in the country in October, making up a joint capital of over 100 million euros. All this despite the tensions experienced in the country that month with the Spanish police violence, declaration of independence and the suspension of Catalonia's self-rule. In spite of this increase from the previous month, the total of new companies established was actually down 14% from the same period last year. On the other hand, the number of dissolved companies in Catalonia in October fell by 8% compared to 2016. We move to culture now, and we put our focus again on the Museum of Lleida, one day after the removal of the controversial Sixena works of art. The director of the museum said today that the transport of the pieces was not ideal. These remarks come just a few hours after authorities in Aragon complained that the works were not in a good state. The disputed Sixena works of art had been in Lleida for decades after Catalonia bought them in the 90s. Yet a judge ruled that the purchase was void and ordered them to be returned to the original location, the Sixena monastery. That's all from us for now. To finish today's show, we leave you with some interesting images of a non-profit organisation taking 18 of their horses for a 200-kilometre walk, taking them to 300 hectares of land where they will pass the winter. The Miranda Foundation aims to save animals from mistreatment. Enjoy and see you tomorrow for more Catalan news.